Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on the film Waterworld. Now, as you know, Waterworld is a 1995 post-apocalyptic action film, which was, of course, directed by Kevin Raymond, as well as based on Rader's original 1986 screenplay, which also has Kevin Costner in the starring role of the Marina. And originally, I thought it was more like a Fist of the North Star film, but I think after what my friend Jillian said to me yesterday about it being more like Mad Max, after sitting down to properly watch it again, I can see why. It's basically Mad Max, but as a swashbuckling adventure film. So the premise of the film begins in the year 25,000, where sea levels have risen to its high amount and every continent on Earth is now underwater. We see how the sort of remains of human civilization live in small traditional port communities, as well as making makeshift floating devices. We see how the marina, who's meant to be this cold, distant character, makes his way to a small traditional port area where he ends up meeting Helen, as well as the young girl known as Enona. And we kind of see how after the sort of dangerous villain known as the sort of Dagon tries to attack the sort of port area, we see how the marina, as well as Helen and Enola, try to escape, as well as avoiding the Dagon's wrath. And we see how slowly the marina starts to see that Enola holds the key to the last elements of dry land. And we slowly see how the marina slowly comes out of his shell to be a better person, and we kind of see how the Dagon goes through hell and back to find that girl, find dry land, and use any means necessary to get what he's after. And I kind of think, obviously, seeing how the film is trying to be like a Mad Max film, I think the problem with the whole Marina character is that we don't really know too much about him, except his origins. The thing with Mad Max was, given the fact it had 3 films at the time, you actually got to see Max's development as a character. At first, he was meant to be tragic, you kind of got the sense he didn't want to be like the psychos on the road, but what happened to his family also affected him badly. He had to adapt to a different environment. And I think with the whole Dagon character, I can see what they were going for, showing him to be a bit of this army personnel character, having these group of followers who are kind of like his whole marauder-like enemies and followers. We kind of see how, because of him being such a terrible leader, they're quick to shoot at each other, don't really think through their sort of strategies, and at times end up doing a lot more killing on themselves than actually getting the job done. And I think the way I do see the Dagon is a bit like Starscream from the whole Image comics. Like, he's quick to waste resources, he doesn't really think through the plans, and a lot of the time he's quick to kind of axe off his troops than actually thinking things strategically. I think the whole point of the film is obviously meant to be this swashbuckling, action-packed adventure. While Mad Max is more about, yeah, Max trying to regain himself, trying to find his identity, and trying to be the guy he once was. I think the whole point of the Marino is meant to be this kind of swashbuckling, action-packed hero that you do see in those old pirate films, where he's obviously supposed to be this kind of character who's meant to be a bit down on his luck. We see how he helps the 2 characters who obviously are meant to find this treasure-like area. In other words, it's clearly Waterworld is more like a pirate-themed film than an actual Mad Max-like film. And I think it's also interesting that there was also this whole Ulysses cut, which again, the DVD, I mean, this whole Blu-ray does have, and I will try and cover it, that has a runtime of 71 minutes that adds a lot more detail to the story. And I think it makes sense given the fact when I watched the original one, it felt like some scenes didn't really make too much sense, and moments that would have flashed out characters didn't really happen. I think, in my opinion, Waterworld is basically a pirate's swashbuckling adventure, not really a Mad Max ripoff. It's clear that obviously it's meant to be a bit more swashbuckling, it's meant to be a bit more of this pirate themed storyline, and given the fact it was the most expensive film at the time, I can see where The Simpsons was parodying how a lot of the time studios and even companies try to use tactics to get back their money. And there was a scene where Milhouse was playing on an arcade game of Waterworld where he had to put more coins in to keep playing, as a reference to the whole companies trying to use tactics to get their sort of money back. So I think it definitely deserves 2 thumbs in the middles. It's an okay film, not a Mad Max ripoff, just a pirate swashbuckling movie. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.